And the next time that you breathe in, pause for a moment, holding your breath in, and then see if you can take in a little bit more breath before exhaling. And we'll repeat that. So whenever you breathe in, you're going to get to the top of what feels like a normal inhalation. You're going to pause and then take in just a bit more breath. And it can be kind of surprising. So we'll just repeat that with every breath in and out. It can be a little surprising for many of us how much more capacity we actually have. So we have this idea of where the end of the inhalation is. And then we do this little practice and we realize that, oh, I have a little bit more in there. And getting more breath in actually helps to expand your lungs. It changes the neural connection. That's the connection of your brain to your nervous system, to the rest of your body. So when we make these conscious changes, especially to something as subtle as the breath, it can have pretty profound impact. So with each inhalation, you're pausing at the top, and then you're taking in a little bit more breath before exhaling. And now adding to this, so you're inhaling, pausing, and taking in a little bit more. We're going to add to this, and now as you exhale, when you get to the bottom of your exhalation, so when you feel like you're at the end of your exhalation, I'm going to ask you to pause there and then see if you can breathe out just a little bit more. So we're exaggerating the top and the bottom part of the breath. We're creating a little more inhale and a little more exhale. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Small amounts can have big effect. And then when it feels comfortable, you're just going to switch and go back to your natural breath. So no longer taking that extra inhale or that extra exhale. And just feeling the breath moving in and out in its natural way. Then begin to roll your shoulders up and around. You can let your eyes gently open as you're rolling the shoulders. Again, just breathing in, breathing out. Good. And roll the other way. Good. And then roll just your right shoulder. And roll just your left shoulder. And we'll go back to the right and go the opposite way. And we'll go back to the left and go the opposite way. Excellent. Okay, and then let's take the arms up overhead. Reach up as high as you can. If your shoulder's giving you some issue and you can't get your arms up overhead, that's okay. We're going to reach up through the right and just kind of bend a little bit to the left. Press your right sitting bone into the chair, though. So don't lean like you're going to fall over. Press that sitting bone into the chair and then go the other way. And breathe in and breathe out, and we'll just kind of go back and forth a little bit. And you can bring one arm down, And the other arm up, almost like you're climbing a little ladder here. Good. Couple more of these. Bringing one arm up and really stretching through that side. Good. And then we'll let the arms come down. Let's take the right arm and we're just going to sweep it up and around. So we're getting some big movements in the shoulder here right away this morning. So nice big movements. As you come forward, let your palm come forward and down. And then as you come up behind, you're going to twist your hand and your arm around. So imagine you're swimming, right? So you want to get the most benefit of the hand in the water as you're swimming. Good. And one more time, one more nice big rotation. And we're going to put that hand on the lap and go right to the other side. So nice big circles, as big as you can manage. And again, if you're working with some limitation in your shoulder, your arm, your neck, just honor that. You're working within your range, whatever that is for you. Couple more of these. Good. Excellent. All right, let's take the hands together and interlace the fingers and notice which thumb is on top. And we're going to take the palms, press them away, round through your spine, bring your chin right down toward your chest. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe into the upper part of your back. Next, excuse me. Next inhale, you're going to bring the arms up overhead. Reach up through the heels of the hands. So breathing in and breathing out. Imagine your rib cage is like a bell. So as you inhale, the bottom of your rib cage is belling out. And as you exhale, the bottom of the rib cage is coming back in. So we're breathing into that bell and breathing out. And one more time, breathe in and breathe out. Excellent. Release your hands, bring them around behind you. Grab hold of the back of your chair. So if you can grab hold of the back, if you can't grab the back, grab the seat. So whatever you can kind of manage there. And then you're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, press the chest forward, and bring the chin down slightly. Yeah, because the tendency is to lift the chin up in the air. So we're just bringing the chin down slightly. So see if you can press your chest forward a little bit. Now you're holding on to either the back of the chair or the seat. And now with your next exhalation, you're going to bend your elbows and you're going to pull yourself back into kind of an upright position, right? So as you inhale, come forward, press the chest forward. As you exhale, bend the elbows and kind of pull back a little bit. Breathing in and really stretch. So imagine you're like the prow of a ship. What's that little thing on the front of the ship, right? They call that something, don't they? Does anybody know what that's called? A what? Yeah, I don't know. The figurehead. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So, and it's usually something that's kind of got this beautiful arch to it, right? That's what I had in my mind when I do this, is that beautiful arch. So we're inhaling and exhaling. And inhaling and exhaling. Good. And then let's release the arms and we'll roll those shoulders a couple more times, just getting a little more space in there for breath. So take your right arm, sweep it around behind you and let it rest on the small of your back, right? So on sort of the lumbar spine. And then you're going to take your left arm and you're going to bring that around behind you too. So behind you, your arms are stacked like that, right? Now, see if you can grab hold of your wrists. If you can grab hold of your wrists back there, I'll invite you to grab hold of your forearms. If you're finding it easy to grab hold of your forearms, see if you can walk your hands over and get your elbows. All right? Maybe you can get one elbow but not the other. It's okay. Okay, so with your hands and arms in this position back there, now you're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together and expand the chest and breathe in. And then as you breathe out, you're just going to relax that and come back to neutral. So breathing in, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Breathing out, relaxing to neutral. We'll do that one more time. Breathing in, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Breathing out, come back to neutral. And now see if you can get your hands a little farther away. So can you walk them closer to the elbows now? Some of you might be able to do that just by simply doing this expansion and contraction in the chest a little bit. So we're going to do 3 more of those. So breathe in and expand through the chest. So you're pressing, it's like you're pressing the top of your breastbone forward. And then exhale, and letting that go. Breathing in and breathing out. And one more time, breathe in, really press the chest forward, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Breathe out and come back to neutral. Let's try one more time to get the hands a little closer to the elbows. See if we can get them over there, right? Maybe we can get beyond the elbows. Right? Okay. And one more time we're going to do that for a set of 3. So breathe in, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Breathe out and relax back to neutral. Breathe in and squeeze the shoulder blades together, arching the back. Breathe out and come back to neutral. And last time. So breathe in, squeeze the shoulder blades, arch the back. Breathe out and come back to neutral. Excellent. So now we're just going to let the arms unlace themselves. Bring them back around to your lap. Let your hands rest on your thighs. Close your eyes for a moment. And just take a couple of breaths in and out. And again, just like you did at the very beginning, notice where you feel movement. So as you breathe in, do you feel your belly expanding? Do you feel your rib cage expanding? As you breathe out, do you feel the belly and the rib cage contracting? Or maybe you feel it in the reverse. And notice if it feels like you can take in a little bit more breath than you did before. Take in one more breath, let it out with a sigh, let your eyes open. And we're going to circle the wrists a little bit here. So we're working our way down a bit. So a little circling of those wrists and reverse direction. Okay, and then something kind of fun this morning. So take your arms out in front and see if you can make an 8 with your wrists. Just with your wrists. Right? That's hard, right? Because you want to get your whole arm in there, right? See if you can do just the figure 8 with your wrists. And then see if you can reverse. Right? That's a little tricky, right? All right, and then let's just do some circles again. Great, shake that out. You can take your hands right alongside your hips, so right on the sides of the chair. And let's have the right hand. Actually, let's have the right hand on the chair. And what we're going to do here is we're going to be leaning to the right, but I want you to think about keeping space in the right side of the body as you're leaning right. Sounds a little weird. So instead of just kind of falling into that right side, I want you to imagine you're leaning up and over something when you go over, right? So you're creating as much length in that side as you can. So the right hand is supporting you, and you're going to have it there. You're going to keep the left shoulder back. So the tendency is for this left shoulder to come forward when we do this. This is the tendency, is to kind of collapse into that side. What I'd like us to do is lift up through the spine, lean up and over, and keep that left shoulder back a little bit. Don't let your left sitting bone come off the chair, right? So breathing in and breathing out, we're just coming over to the side, and see if you feel it here in that left side. Is everybody feeling a little something in the left side? Okay, good. All right, so it's more about sort of this movement of the spine. Let me see if I can describe this a different way. So instead of leaning to one side, I'm going to ask you to take your right hand and find the lower part of your rib cage. Go down from where you can feel it's really bony or really firm under your hand. And then be careful, don't poke too hard because you have some floating ribs there. And then you'll find the bottom rib, right? Everybody find the bottom rib, sort of? Okay, now walk down carefully on that nice sensitive spot until you get to the bony part of your hip. Can you all feel the bony part of your hip? Yeah. So there's a gap between the ribs. So if you take your left hand over, you feel the gap between your lower ribs and your hip, right? So let's think about it in this way. Let's think about that lean in this way. I'm going to try and get my lower ribs to touch my hip, right? It won't happen, but that's what we're trying to get at, right? We're trying to think about the hip is raising a little bit. It's almost like this, you guys. The hip is almost raising like this, and the ribs are almost moving like that. Does that make sense? It's very subtle, so it's a little hard to explain. Sometimes if you have your hand there, you might feel it. You might actually just put your hand in this fashion, right in the soft part of your waist. So it's like you're trying to lift your hip toward your ribs and your ribs toward your hip. Everybody got that? That's a little different than just sort of leaning to one side, yeah? Okay, good. All right, so let's try that now with the hand on the chair. Okay, and then we're going to lean to the right with that caveat, right? I'm trying to lift my right hip toward my ribs and my ribs toward my hip. And what I should feel is a deepening stretch on this left side. Is that true for most of you? Excellent. Okay, so that's where we want to be. Phew. Let's try that a couple of times. Good. And then let's see if we can breathe as we're doing this, right? Good. Doesn't matter when you inhale and exhale, you guys. Just try not to hold your breath. All right, you got that, right? Good. Let's try the other side just so we kind of have a feeling for that. So find your lower ribs, then find the top of your hip. It's right under that. There you go. And so you're going to take your left hand to the chair. And again, thinking about instead of rolling forward with this right shoulder, we're going to keep the shoulder back and we're going to lean into the left side, trying to lift the left hip toward the left ribs and the left ribs toward the left hip, right? Got it? So as you do this, you should feel a little bit more of a stretch through that right side. And again, this can be a little easier to get on one side than the other for a lot of people, you know? So don't hike your shoulder. So it's not about your shoulder. Don't clench your jaw, because it's not about your jaw. Don't push off with your foot. What other don'ts can I give you? Don't hold your breath. Okay, how are we doing? Yeah, this can be really kind of challenging. So for many of us, we don't work the muscles in the sides of the waist very much, so we can get a little bit sore when we're doing that. So just kind of take note of that. So we're going to add a little something to this very subtle movement this morning. So I'm just going to kind of demo again. So I'm going to go back to the right side. So as I lean to the right, I'm lifting my right hip toward my ribs and my ribs toward my hip, right? But I'm going to add one thing here. As I lift my hip toward my ribs and my ribs go toward my hip, and you can see my upper body is starting to shift in this direction, I'm going to take my head and bring my head back to neutral. Right? Okay. So let's forget the hip and the ribs for right now. We'll just do one thing at a time. So just lean over a little bit to the right. So you notice how when you lean to the right, your whole spine goes this way, right? Now just take just your head and tilt it back up. Got that? Okay. Let's go over to the left. Same thing. Just lean over to the left a little bit. Not a lot. Don't let your right sitting bone come up. You notice how your whole spine goes this way, your head too, and you're going to take your head and bring it back to that neutral position. Good. And then come back. So for a lot of us, we're going to feel a little something in the neck, the upper back, and when we add these two pieces together, it can be surprisingly challenging to do. So I just want you to work within your comfort zone. So I don't want you to get to a place where this feels, oftentimes I'll say get to a place where it's a little uncomfortable, but right now I just want you to get to a place where it's still comfortable, okay? All right, so right hand on the chair. And you got both sitting bones planted. You all know where your sitting bones are? You all know what they are? Do you know what they are? Yeah? Your sitting bones, take your hands, reach underneath you, and kind of move around until you feel something very hard on your hands, right? So you'll feel the softness of your glutes, and then you should feel something very bony there at some point. Those are your sitting bones. And your sitting bones are actually the bottom of your pelvis. So you think about your pelvis right here, right? It's like a bowl, kind of this way. And at the bottom of your pelvis are these two bones. Isn't that kind of nice? We kind of have a kickstand for our pelvis, right? So it's kind of built in, so we don't tip over. So you're going to keep those sitting bones anchored to the chair. Take your right hand to the side of the seat. And now we're going to do this very complicated movement. As you bring your right hip toward your ribs and your ribs toward your hip, you're going to keep your head in that plane. Right? Oh, I know. I get it. And then come back. So you're making almost like an S. Yeah? So you're raising your hip toward your ribs toward your hip, and your head is staying in that neutral plane. So I don't look cockeyed like this, right? When you're looking at me, you're not thinking, oh, wow, she needs to straighten up. It's like, just like that, right? Got it? We'll do that just a couple more times. Again, these are very subtle movements, and you know what this class is about. It's about working on parts that don't get a lot of movement. So we don't want to do a lot of this because we might feel a little bit sore tomorrow in that side. So if you're a little sore, you're welcome. So bring your hip bone toward your ribs a little bit, and as you lean into that side, you've got the head staying kind of in that neutral position. Now notice if you're doing this with your chin, pull it back a little bit, and then come back. Whew. Who felt it over here in this side? Yeah, excellent. The rest of you were just so concentrating on what you were doing, it was like, I can't feel anything. All right, let's try it on the left. So take your left hand to your chair. And again, we'll just kind of do this in segments, right? So we're taking the left hip bone, we're lifting it toward the ribs, and we're bringing the ribs toward the hip bone. And at the same time, we're keeping the head level, right? So we're bringing the hip bone toward the ribs toward the hip, and we're keeping the head sort of in that level position, right? So it's like you have to move your head to the right in order to get it level. Yeah? Okay, good. I'm not losing my mind here. Good. Breathe in, breathe out. Doesn't matter when, just that you're not holding your breath. So if your head is moving to the left, I'm going to have you move it to the right. It can be a little tricky. Okay. And relax all of that. That felt completely unnatural, right? Completely unnatural. And yet you do that kind of movement a lot when you walk. Because every time you walk, one hip is dropping, the rib cage is moving, right? The rib cage is moving, the hip is dropping, and your head is staying level. Otherwise, you'd be walking like this, and that would make you very dizzy, right? So, but when we do it without knowing that we're doing it, it's fine. It works great. But then when we shine a light on it, we realize, oh, there's a lot to this. So if you have some difficulty walking, if you have some difficulty like kind of staying steady and straight, you might practice this little movement to get that, what do I want to say? That combination of smaller movements to work together. Okay? All right. Yes? They do. They're called ischial tuberosities. So, yeah, I know. Just what you wanted to know. So the reason why is because your pelvic bones, there's two of them, and they're called ischium, flatten, ischium. A tuberosity is simply a prominence on a bone, right? So it's your ischium, your ischial tuberosities. Yeah, excellent. That'll be on the final exam. Good. All right. So let's give the upper body and the ribs and all that a little bit of a break, and let's go down and have a look at those beautiful feet. Yeah. I'm going to lift up all those toes and spread them out and place them down. And let's do that a few times. So just lifting and lowering the toes. Notice if they're all separate or if you've got one or two toes that kind of overlap or kind of snuggle up too close or something of that nature, right? And how independent do your toes feel from one another, right? Do you feel like you can move them all kind of with their own little bit of autonomy? Not so much? Not so much. More than 6 months ago or a year ago? There you go. That's all I care about. We measure progress in years, right? And that's what I say. Measure progress in years. I used to have a teacher that said measure progress in decades. I don't have that kind of time. All right, let's lift up all the toes, spread them out nice and wide, and then keep all those little toes lifted and push just your big toes down into the floor. And then lift everybody up. And again, so we're keeping all the little toes lifted and we're just lowering and lifting the big toes. And as you lower the big toes, see if you can push them down, right? So give them a little bit of a push. And as you give them a little bit of a push, can you feel your leg muscles activate? Yeah. And then next time you lift everybody up, hold them all up, and then just lower all the little toes, but not the big toes. And lift and lower just the little toes. Yeah, assisting is fine. So I see some of you doing that. That's great. If you're assisting, you're just holding the big toes up as you're lowering the little toes down. And when we were doing it the other way, you were holding the little toes up as you push the big toes down. Good. Couple more. Great. And then lift and lower all the toes. So what I was saying before about toe strength being a predictor of falls, it's specifically the big toe. So the big toe really has to be strong in order to, not just to push us off when we're walking. A lot of us know that when you walk, that big toe is pushing off. But what's happening in the front foot, your big toe is actually slowing you down. So we think in terms, when we talk about walking, a lot of times we talk about acceleration. So, how well are my glutes activating to push me forward? But that front foot, the toes are slowing me down. The glutes are slowing me down. So if my glutes are not strong enough, it's not going to be strong enough to slow me down. And that's when falls happen, is when we're out of control in acceleration. Yeah, that's when it happens. Okay. So let's lift up all the toes again. Spread them out. Press your big toe and your baby toe down, but none of the middle toes. We're going to keep working on that forever. Forever. And then lift them all up and give a little bit of a break to those feet. Okay, spread them out again nice and wide. Just the big toes, just the baby toes, but none of the middle toes. You might be feeling a little cramp in your arch, and that's pretty normal when you do this. That's very telling. So we're going to lift everybody up, spread them wide, big toe and baby toe. It's pretty telling about which part of the anatomy could use a little bit of strengthening here for the arch. And then relax all of that. Good. All right. So let's just kind of tap the feet, give them a little bit of a break. So your arches, we often think of the arch as just here. But I don't have my foot model with me. I should have brought it today. Your foot, if we could take the skin off your foot and have a look at the skeleton, it has this little arch here on the whole middle part of the foot. The outer edge of the foot does touch the ground, but you've got this nice arch in there. And there's actually, what comprises that arch is this medial arch here. So it's a tendon that comes in here. You've got a lateral arch here, even though it's touching the floor. And then you've got something called a transverse arch that goes across this part of your foot. So it's those three things together that work to keep that arch lifted. And so we talk about lifting the arch because people are like, oh, I have kind of flat feet. But then there are people that say, oh, I have such high arches. Well, stiff arches are as bad as flat arches, right? So if you have stiff arches, when you go to take a walk, it's like walking in a clunky boot that it would be like walking in ski boots on the pavement, right? It's just this, right? There's no give in it. So you want to walk with a little bit of spring there. And so having some resilience in this part of your anatomy in the bottom of the foot actually gives you that resilience. So when I come forward, I've got this nice spring that happens, and then when I'm extending my back leg, that's getting nice and strong, and that's pushing me off. So we got to have that flexibility and strength, that combination of flexibility and strength to create the resilience in the feet. And as many of you who've taken my foot classes know, that if you don't have that in your feet, you translate it up the chain to your ankle, your knee, your hip, and even your back. And then you're asking those parts of your body to do work that they're not designed to do. So then you end up with pain and discomfort. All right, so let's get up to the ankles a little bit. So we'll take the right leg out, and we're going to point and flex at the ankle. And notice, how does this feel this morning? Does your ankle feel tight? Does it feel okay? Can you point better than flex? Can you flex better than point? Is there noise in there? And then circle around. Good. And how about a reverse on that circle? Great. And then bring that foot to the floor. Let's go the other side. So same thing. We're just pointing, flexing. Ooh, got some good snaps there. So notice that ankle. Does it feel different? Does it feel the same? I know I have one ankle that is decidedly different than the other. I can do many more things with my left ankle than my right. My right is just very tight. And then we'll circle that around and reverse that up a little bit. Okay, and then bring that down, and we'll just do some really gentle knee extensions and bends. So we're just very slowly extending and bending. And when you get to the full extension, when your knee is straight, I want you to really squeeze the muscles here and give it just a brief moment before coming back. And then when you're in this position again, another little brief moment, so that we're not getting into momentum where we're like just kicking our leg, right? So we're really activating the muscles in the front of the thigh and the back of the thigh. Anybody remember what the muscles in the front of the thigh are? Quads. How about the back of the thigh? Hamstrings. Yeah, awesome. All right, and then we'll bring that foot to the floor, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So just nice and slow, extend and bend. Little pause when you get to the top, little pause when you get to the bottom. It's harder this way, for sure. If your leg gets tired, you can always just kind of rest for a moment and then catch up. We'll do just a couple more. Good. How about last one here? And we'll bring that foot back down to the floor. And scoot over to the right side of your chair on your ischial tuberosities. And then we'll take that right leg, and using the heel and the toes, we're going to walk the leg out and then walk the leg back. So we're just going in and out. If it's easier to sit kind of at the corner of your chair, for some of us it's easier to do that, go ahead. So as you're doing this, I want you to feel what's happening in your ankle, in your knee. So there's a little bit of rotation happening in your knee and your hip. So when you get way out to the side, can you feel it in your hip? Can you feel it in the inner thigh? Good. Next time you go out, I'm going to ask you to stay here. Okay. And then we're just going to drop the knee in, come up on the inside edge of the foot, and then bring the knee out. So I'll turn this way so you all can see. So I'm dropping the knee in and then pulling the knee out. Just going in and out. And breathing. And try and keep your body still, right? So the movement is happening at the hip. And the next time that your knee comes out, walk your foot out a little bit more. So you want this to be a bit of a challenge for that inner thigh, right? And you're pulling the knee toward the back wall. And you're breathing in and breathing out. And you're going to take your left hand to your chair and your right hand to the inside of that right leg. Right? So you can feel the leg moving toward the back wall. And then we're going to twist the upper body to the left a little bit here. And you can even give just a very little press into the hand that's in the right hand that's on the thigh. And then unwind And we'll do that again. So lengthen through your spine. We're just going to twist over to that left side a little bit. And then come back. Breathe in, breathe out. Don't forget that. Really important. Excellent. And coming back. Great. All right, let's see if we can take that leg now. We're going to bring it back. Come back to the center of your chair. All right. And now we're going to take that right knee. We're going to lift it up and lower it down. Seems simple, right? So just lifting the knee and lowering down. So a couple things here. Feel your sitting bones, right? I don't want you to lean more into the left sitting bone as you lift that knee. If you feel the weight shift into the sitting bone, you're lifting a little too high. If you're collapsing your spine, in other words, if you're doing this, you're lifting too high. So I want you to sit up nice and straight, press into your sitting bones, right? And then you're just going to lift that knee up and lower it down. Good. Lift and lower and breathe as you're doing this, right? This can be really challenging. So we're working right now the hip flexor muscles. So some of you know what your hip flexors are. Yes? Do you? Yeah. They're the muscles that cross, they go from your thigh to your pelvis. And they bring your knee toward your body. These are the muscles that get tight and weak when we sit a lot. So the next time you lift, I'm going to ask you to hold and breathe. And as you're holding and breathing, notice how much harder it's getting. Yeah. Whoa, right? We're asking a lot. Yep. One more breath. Can you do one more breath? And as you exhale, lower it down. Whew. All right, we're going to pivot right away. We're going to turn 90 degrees to the left. You're sort of got your left buttocks on the chair. We're going to take the right leg and slide it back. Hold on to the back of your chair with your left hand. We're going to slide that leg back and see if you can straighten the knee and sit up nice and tall. So if you're leaning forward, I'm going to ask you to sit up nice and tall, right? Can you all feel a stretch through the front of your right hip? Yeah? Good. Those are the hip flexors right in there. We're stretching them now. So we worked them and made them really strong, and now we're stretching them. So relax that, bend the knee. We're going to come back around. We're going to do that again. Okay, so pressing into your sitting bones, right? Nice and strong. You can have your hands on your chair if that's okay. And we're just going to lift and lower without tilting your body, without coming onto more of that other sitting bone, without your spine collapsing. So if it's a small lift, it's a small lift. It's okay. Oh, and you have to breathe while you're doing this. Yeah, so no holding your breath. We're building a little bit more strength here, huh? So next time you lift, hold, breathe. Whew. See if you can point and flex your foot while you're here. Maybe that'll distract you from the pain in your leg. I'm thinking maybe a little bit. Yeah. Making it more fun anyway. Not really. Okay. All right. And then let's put that foot on the floor. We're going to pivot right away. Go 90 degrees. Keep the left sitting bone on the chair, left buttocks on the chair. Hold on to the back of your chair. Extend your right leg back. Oh, get a nice stretch through the front of that hip, right? Front of the thigh. Marion she's a salmon. She's swimming upstream this morning. That's okay. That's okay. All right. I think, Marion, you went to the other side, right? Yeah. 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 See, we're all on the same side. Yeah. Okay, bend that knee, come all the way back around. Whew. Let's do this. Let's extend the legs, point the toes, reach out there. Is your right leg longer than your left? Excellent. And what if it's not? You got to start over. Sorry. Okay, we're going to bend the knees, come back to the left side. So now we're working the left side. So use your heel and your toes. We're going to walk the foot out, walk the foot back. So starting right at the beginning. So you can feel you got a little bit of ankle movement, yeah? Got a little movement at the knee. Not as much, but you got a little movement there. There has to be side-to-side movement in your knee. There has to be side-to-side movement in your knee. If there was no side-to-side movement there, you wouldn't have the buoyancy when you walk. Again, it would be very clunky. That's why we have some nice ligaments that kind of protect us on the inside and the outside of the knee from going too far. So next time you're out there about 90 degrees-ish, right? So kind of in that general range, you're going to stay there. And then you're just going to drop the knee in, right up on the inside edge of the foot, and then pull out. So you want to have your ankle sort of underneath your knee. In other words, you don't want to be way out here. You want to have your ankle kind of underneath your knee. And we're just going in and out. So most of this you're going to feel like in your hip, the outside of your hip, your inner thigh, the groin area, maybe down into the knee, because the muscles that come from, again, your hip, your pelvis, your sitting bones, go down your inner thigh and attach a little bit below your knee. Those are your adductor muscles. They pull your legs together. Get very tight when we sit a lot. Get a theme going here today? Yeah. Okay. Next time you pull your knee toward the back wall, I'm going to have you hold there, right? So you're pulling the knee toward the back wall. You should be feeling a lot of engagement in the muscles here in the outside of the hip. You might be feeling a lot of stretch here in the inner part of the thigh. Could be up into the groin, could be down into the knee. You're going to take your right hand to the chair if it's not there already. You're going to take your left hand to the inside of your left leg, right? And then as you keep pulling your knee toward the back wall, you're just going to twist your body to the right and breathe. And then unwind your twist. Keep the knee pulling toward the back wall. And we'll do this 2 more times. So it's just a really gentle twist. If turning your head makes you feel a little bit dizzy, you don't have to turn your head. You can just kind of hold your head in a position that feels okay. Just make sure you're breathing as you're doing this. You're not holding your breath. Breath holding creates more tension in the muscles, by the way. That's the reason why we don't hold the breath. Because muscles need oxygen, and if you deprive them of oxygen, they just freeze. Okay. All right, and then back. Excellent. And relax that. We're going to walk that foot back in, scoot to the center of your chair. Okay, so coming back to the center of your chair. Find those sitting bones again. Ischial tuberosities for those of you who are studying Latin. And then what we'll do is we're going to raise that left foot and lower, right? So we're lifting and lowering the leg. What's that? Oh, so we're lifting and lowering. Good. Excellent. And the next time you lift, you're going to hold here and breathe. Notice if this is easier on this side, or if it was easier on the other side, or if it's equally difficult, right? So for many of us, we're going to notice a little bit of a difference. One side feels a little stronger. One side feels like it could have a little more strength. One more nice full deep breath. Try not to lean back in your chair, so sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to lower that down. We're going to turn right away 90 degrees to the right. Hold on to your chair with your right hand and take your left leg and bring it back. Give it a little straightening here so we feel a stretch in through the front of the hip. We don't get enough of this kind of position with the hip, most of us. Right? We're a little more limited in this position than we are in the other position. Breathe in, breathe out. Excellent. Let's give that knee a little bit of a bend. We're going to scoot back around to that center position. Take a moment here, just kind of get yourself oriented again. Sitting bones on the chair, you're sitting up tall. So again, you're not leaning back. You're not letting your spine collapse. You're not leaning to one side or the other. And we're just going to lift and lower that leg. So same thing. Maybe this side you lift higher, maybe the other side you lifted higher. Good, and you're breathing in and breathing out. Nice, smooth, round breaths, right? So none of this is, it can be a little challenging maybe to lift the leg, but it's not like overly taxing. So the next time you lift, you're going to hold and breathe. and point and flex this foot. Ooh, good. Nice. So we're breathing in, breathing out. Great. How about 2 more? Oof. Great. And then let's put that foot back down on the floor. We're going to scoot right over 90 degrees, you guys. And we're going to extend that left leg back as far as you can. See if you can feel a stretch through the front of that right hip, thigh, maybe down into the knee. Left. Yes, thank you. The other right. Yep. It's my right, but it's your left. Okay. Excellent. And then we'll bend that knee. Good. Bring it back around. Come to center. Extend your legs. Point your toes. Hopefully you got the same length. Same length? Excellent. If you don't, start over again. We're all moving on. All right. Take your right ankle, cross it on top of your left knee. Okay. So if this is just like way too much, if you can't do this, you can always cross here at the ankle. But if you can get the ankle on the knee, that's a good thing. So let's see if we can take the right knee, lift it up a little bit. So you can use your hands, lift it up a little bit, and see if you can get a little taller in your seat, right? So if you're leaning into the left side, I'm going to ask you to bring the weight evenly into your sitting bones. So I know we've got the leg crossed here, and you probably got all kinds of sensation happening here in this leg, but I want you to bring your focus into your sitting bones and notice what's happening there. Now, can you push down into your right sitting bone a little bit more without leaning to the right? Does that make sense? Okay. So you're pushing down into your right sitting bone a little bit more. You're breathing in and breathing out. And if it feels okay, let go of your knee. Keep pushing down into your right sitting bone. And if you can, start bringing your knee closer to the floor. Everybody got that? Very subtle movement here, right? So we're going to do that all over again. So relax everything. Okay? Ankle on top of the knee. Let's do this. So I want you to look at where your ankle is crossed on your knee. Can you all touch your ankle? The one that's crossed? Can you all reach it with your hand? Okay, so if you're crossed at your ankle, you can't. But if you're crossed at your knee. So what I want you to do is feel the outside of your ankle bone here, and then the outside of your heel here, right? See if you can get this part of your foot, the space between your ankle bone and your heel, get that on your leg. So in other words, the ankle bone is on the inside of your leg. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. I got some quizzical looks. I got a couple of quizzical looks. Okay, so this part of your ankle bone, right? So sometimes when we cross our legs, we cross it so this part of the ankle bone goes on the outside of the leg. I'm asking you to bring this part of the ankle bone to the inside of your leg. So less of your foot is actually on your leg. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do that same thing. I'm going to have you push down into your sitting bones and see if you can pull your knee toward the floor. If this is just causing you a little too much discomfort, you can always lift up that knee a little bit. Start that way, sit up nice and tall, and then try it that way. So we're pushing down and then we're releasing. We're not leaning the upper body. We've got that bottom foot directly under the knee because it's giving you some support, right? Breathe in, breathe out. This is a great stretch for your buttocks. Deep in your buttocks, you've got muscles called lateral rotators. They do this. They do that movement, right? They can get very tight from sitting. Yeah, there we go. We got a theme. We always got to have a theme, you guys. All right, let's relax that and then just slide that leg over on top. So now we were just engaging those lateral rotators, and now we're stretching them. So as you've got your knee over here, you might feel something like right in the middle of your buttocks, right on that side. See if you can place your right hand on the outside of your right knee, your left hand, your left hand on the outside of your right knee, your right hand to your chair, and then we're just going to twist a little toward the right. Breathe in, breathe out. Always breathe in, breathe out. Great, and then unwind from that. Good, we're going to uncross. See if you can take your left leg, and again, find your ankle bone here on the outside. Do you all remember what this ankle bone is? Do you remember what it's attached to? It's attached to your lower leg bone, your fibula, your fibula, right here on the outside. So that's one of your leg bones. So you're going to take that, that ankle bone and keep it on the inside of your leg, right? So if you're sitting like this with the ankle bone on the outside, you're going to bring it to the inside. It can be a little more intense. Take your right foot and make sure it's underneath your knee. All right, so in other words, you don't want it way out to the side because we're using that as a little kickstand to support ourselves here. So you can lift that knee up, give yourself the opportunity to sit up nice and tall, because what tends to happen when we're in this position is we do this, because everything is connected through the pelvis, right? So we're lifting here. So then we're breathing, and we're just going to let that go. Push down into your left sitting bone without leaning to the left. So you're pushing down into your left sitting bone, and you're bringing that left knee toward the floor. Ooh, mama. And then relax, right? So again, we'll pull down and relax. So we're just going a little at a time. Now if you're crossed ankle on ankle, you're just engaging these muscles as best you can, right? And the next time that you pull down, I'm going to ask you to hold here and breathe. So it's like everything, the whole direction is down this way. Your knee is pushing down, your sitting bone is pushing down, and your spine is lifting up, right? And you're breathing. Good. And then relax that. Excellent. Let's cross that knee on top of the knee. So once again, we were just engaging the muscles here in the middle of the buttocks, your lateral rotators. Anybody who has ever had sciatic pain, that goes down the back of the leg, quite often it's coming from your glutes. It's coming from those muscles right in the middle of your buttocks that are too tight, because those muscles, they kind of sit on top and around the sciatic nerve. And so when they get tight, they squeeze on that nerve, and then you get, oh my God, I got pain in my foot, or I got pain in my knee. And we chase this thing that actually begins in your butt. Okay, so you're going to take your right hand to the outside of your left knee, your left hand to your chair, sit up nice and tall, and then we're just going to give a little twist. So this is a beautiful stretch for those lateral rotator muscles, right? And then unwind coming back, and we'll do that a couple more times. So I love doing this stretch. I do this every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Especially if I'm sitting a lot, working on my computer, I can start to feel it. And then come back. Excellent. Let's uncross the legs. Bring your feet back to the floor. Let your hands rest on your thighs for a moment. Good. Lift up all your toes, spread them out nice and wide, and then lower them all down, keeping them as wide as they can go. Now press down into the bottoms of your toes, press down into your heels, and feel your leg muscles activate. Right? So can you feel that all the way up? Okay, as it comes up, I'm going to ask you, when you start to get that feeling up here in the thighs, I'm going to ask you to engage your glutes a little bit and see if you can sit up a little taller, right? So when you engage your glutes, you actually sit up a little taller. Breathe in, breathe out, pull your belly in a little bit. Feel yourself get a little taller still. Notice if your rib cage is kind of thrusting forward, see if you can pull it back a little bit. Relax your neck, right? So with your head like that, pull it back a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. So you got everything working from your toes all the way up. Can you feel that kind of connection all the way up to your head? Can you relax your hands? Relax your jaw. And then slowly relax everything in your body, and you'll feel it all kind of melt away, right? Good. And then come to whatever seated position feels comfortable. If you feel like you need to sit into the back of your chair, you can do that now. We're just going to close the eyes and do just a quick little refresh here for the body and the mind. So once you're settled, close your eyes, and that way I'll know everybody's ready. And turn your attention to your breath. As you inhale and exhale, notice where you feel movement. Breathing in and breathing out, feel your rib cage and your belly expand and contract. When you come to the top of your inhalation, pause. And then take in a little more breath before exhaling. So you're going to repeat that. Every time you inhale, you just come to what feels like the end of your inhale, and then pause, take in a little bit more, and then exhale. And now adding to that, so you're still pausing at the top of the inhalation, taking in a little more breath before exhaling, but now at the very bottom of your exhale, so when you feel like you've exhaled everything, you're going to pause and then see if you can exhale a little bit more before inhaling. So we're exaggerating or elongating the inhale and the exhale just at the very ends. And again, this is more of a mind-body connection thing, because we realize when we do these kinds of exercises that we have more capacity. I have more capacity to exhale. I have more capacity to inhale than I use on a regular basis. So I just get conditioned to breathing in a very narrow window, and then I realize there's more to it. The more deeply we can inhale and exhale, the more we can affect our nervous system. The more we can oxygenate our tissues. So it's really fundamental, physiologically, emotionally, because our nervous system is tied to our emotions. So if I tend to be somebody who's maybe a little anxious, or I tend to feel like I'm on high alert a lot, this is a good way to kind of recalibrate that. We're just kind of rewiring the circuitry a little bit. And I love these kinds of exercises because you can do them anywhere. You simply have to withdraw your attention into your body. Pay attention to the tops of the ends of the breath. So to the top of the inhalation, to the bottom of the exhalation. Pay attention to where the sort of natural end is for you, and then see if you can create a little different experience. And now go back to your natural breath. Just inhaling and exhaling. Bring your hands up to your chest. Take a breath in, let it out with a sigh, so you feel that sigh vibrate under your hands. And then maybe clasping your hands or interlacing your fingers, just taking a moment in gratitude to your breath. And if you'd like, maybe opening your eyes and just acknowledging all these great people that we're able to practice with here today. Nice full house today. Yeah. Great. Enjoy the rest of your day, you guys. I'll see you all next time.